From the floor here in the Scott Trade Center in St. Louis, Missouri, day one of the NCAA Division I Wrestling Championships has come to a close. Penn State in the lead. Minnesota had a great round, along with Shane Sparks, Jason Bryant here. And Shane, we'll just run through the weight classes real quick, this quick wrap session. Team score is kind of what we expected right now. Penn State qualified 9. 9 are all alive after day one. So, Minnesota's been wrestling well. They did lose Cody on. He's the only guy that's lost matches today. He was 2 and out. So, unfortunately for Minnesota, Iowa's right there in the mix. But as far as wrestling goes, it's been a great day of wrestling.
It's been a great day of wrestling. As you said, everything's kind of played out to form up to this point. Tomorrow is when things kind of separate, and looking forward to that. 125 saw McDonough, a couple of pins. He looks like a hammer. You got Sanders on the bottom as a number 2.
Looks like a hammer. How long have you been covering this sport?
He is a
He's
hammer.
got a national. Yeah, thank you.
McDonough is. He just is so dialed in.
You try to get good, knowledgeable talent, and it just.
I just love watching his focus, man. I love watching McDonough's focus. He's so dialed in. It's a process. He talks about it all the time.
You're lucky you can try to get him for an interview afterwards because he wants to go. He wants to, all right, I got to get my weight down. I got to do this. He's just zoned in. He's
but that top half of the bracket, I mean, he's got Delgado, the number 4. You got Battleon, the 5. That'll be a good matchup. And McDonough's got Mango, the 8. And Mango looked really good. He really took it to Levi Mealy from Northwestern, who's tough. Mealy beat Delgado in the duel. So,
match,
it's going to be tough for McDonough, but it's going to be McDonough-Sanders, I think, when it's all said and done. I think they'll do it one more time.
Well, the upset at this, the third seed, Alan Waters, was upset in overtime by Anthony Zanetta of Pittsburgh. That was really the thing that shook it up. And, of course, Penn State, Nico Megaludis knocking off the returning All-American Jared Patterson from Oklahoma. You really kind of started that wave in that second round for Penn State. Looked good. It was down 3-0. Got into a scramble. Held Patterson. Got the near fall. We got the 2 and the near fall points and got a riding time point on top of that. So very strong win there. He'll have Zach Sanders in the quarterfinals. Moving to 133. Seeds kind of held with 2 exceptions. Steve Keith of Harvard picks up the win at that weight over Devin Carter, knocking out the 6th seed, and Chris Dardanes with the win over AJ Shop of Edinburgh. Everything else seeds held. Oliver, Stevens, Cologne, Futrell. How about Illinois back-to-back? Delgado comes out, gets a fall. Futrell comes out and gets a fall at 33. So the Fighting Illini right in there in the mix. They're in the top 6 right now. Tony Ramos, 9-2 opening against Brian Owen. I think the Iowa coaches were a little concerned about that because I hadn't seen Owen a whole lot this year. And then, a workman-like 3-1 victory over Aaron Khalil of Navy. So Dardanes, Stieber, Keith Ramos, Futrell, Cologne, Stevens, and Oliver, and who's also picked up 2 quick falls.
Yeah, Oliver, 3.5 minutes again?
Let's see. My math isn't so good. So, 3:37 total time on the mat. Futrell has spent 5 minutes and 20 seconds on the mat. So we're getting some bonus points here.
I want to see a Ramos-Stieber semifinal tomorrow night. That one got chippy at the Big Ten in the final, and I'd like to see those guys go at it again.
You'd like to see that? I think most of this arena would like to see that, unless you're, a Minnesota or a Northern Iowa fan.
Although Dardanes, those guys nonstop. Those guys are bulldogs.
We interviewed Nick. Or Chris, I don't know which one. No, we interviewed Chris after he beat Shop, and he's just bloodied. He had his nose plugged. He looked like he'd been through a war, and he goes, "Oh, that's nothing, dude."
Seriously,
that's what he said. He goes, "It's nothing."
They're tough.
Moving to 141 pounds, top seed Kellen Russell with a major decision into the second round after an opening round win. Nick Dardanes gets the upset over Darius Little, avenges the loss there. The 4-5 Hunter Stieber, Mike Mangrum, 3-6 Montel Marion, Boris Novichkov, and unseeded Zach Niebert from Virginia Tech, kind of maybe picking up the slack from where Carter slipped, taking on Kendrick Maple.
He had a great match against Jake Soufflon from Nebraska. Soufflon rode him out the entire second period and had over 2 minutes of riding time. Niebert comes back, rode him the entire third period, end up squeaking that one out. That was a real tough match, a lot of fun to watch. And he's had a great run at 141, and Kendrick Maple, Midlands champion, beat Montel Marion, was the OW at the Midlands. And how about Marion Novichkov, 2 guys that have been in the finals before. Marion a couple years back to Dake, and Novichkov last year to Russell. 141 to me, Jason. I think it's the most exciting weight class.
Well, it's like the late Ed Alaverdi said, just throw them in a dryer and let them roll around, see who comes out on top. Moving to 149, top seed Frank Molinaro had a little bit of a battle there, got by Scott Sakaguchi of Oregon State, actually got taken down, trailed in the match. Looked like he might have hurt his knee. He was limping a little bit, but he got past. He's a top seed. We'll take on Eric Grajales, who beat unseeded Nick Bracetta from Virginia Tech. Justin Accordino. Now, when I filled up my draws, Justin Accordino from Hofstra, Pennsylvania native, has been battling knee problems for the last 2 years. He's a redshirt junior. He's been there a while. The knee is heavily bandaged. It's braced up and taped over. Gets through to the quarterfinals where he'll take on unseeded Nick Lester of Oklahoma. So there's going to be an unseeded guy in the semifinals, guaranteed. And in my draw initially, when I drew this thing out, I had Accordino right in this spot.
Nick Lester took care of Donnie Vincent,
Yeah.
the number 4 seed. Then he had a tech fall, defeating Talv American, and that'll be fun to watch. And I just love, we talk about this all the time, Jason, you got to beat who's in front of you. I mean, you beat the guy in front of you, capitalize on opportunities. Hey, chips fall where they may, but Lester's, look, I saw him today, and he was pretty dominant.
Did look good. Now, one thing we always like to note, I've done this typically when we do previews and such, if you're a seeded guy, and of course you're going to draw an unseeded guy in the first round, but if you're drawing somebody that's unseeded from the Big 10 or Big 12, that you cannot ask for a worse draw. Donnie Vincent, great season for Binghamton this year. You know, it's his 3rd trip to the show. You don't like the Nick Lester draw right off the bat, and Lester kind of exposed that for what it was. Cole Von Olen had a couple close matches before getting a fall over Caleb Freely. Freely was going, it was 5-0 at one point. Von Olen came back as the 3, Tyler Nauman at 6. Dylan
And Vincent's lucky he's still around, because then he wrestled in the
Dan Osterman.
Osterman, he was on his back. He was on his back. I thought he was going to get
Osterman's
stuck.
a Greco guy.
You
You know, Vincent likes to go upper body, so does Osterman. He's a Greco guy. So maybe
he was in trouble.
Yeah, he was in trouble. Came back and got the fall. Yeah. So 7-2. Dylan Ness beat Corey Jansen, and actually a pretty exciting match down there. Jamal Parks remained undefeated as the 2 seed. As we move to 157, Kyle Dake. He has spent exactly 2 minutes and 44 seconds on the mat. Pinned John Nichols from Old Dominion in the minute 13, and then came out and beat Josh Kremeyer of Air Force the same way. He's just been pinning people. Ganbaier Sanja will take on unseeded Daniel Kolodzik of Princeton. Now look at this bracket here. Up top we have the EIWA, Frank Hickman from Bloomsburg, EWL, Sanjan Kolodzik, EIWA, and then the bottom, Welsh, Green, Alton, St. John. Big 10, Big 10, Big 10, Big 10. Yikes. I mean, that's 3-11. Actually, and we've got to talk about James Green picking up the tiebreaker victory over James Fleming of Clarion. So an upset there as the 11 beat the 6. Alton and St. John, I think tomorrow we're going to see another, it's expect bonus time there. What do you think?
St. John is just so tough.
He was gritty, man.
He's always so composed, and
he
I wouldn't bet against St. John's motor.
Yeah, R.J. Pena, the guy beat him, majored him at the national duels, came back, avenged that in the second round. Moving to 165, David Taylor spent exactly 2 minutes and 92 seconds. So that would be 3 minutes. Whatever. I'm not good with math. Robert Kokish in there as the 8th seed. Hofstra with another guy getting through the quarters. P.J. Gillespie with a huge win over Mike Evans of Iowa. Evans was the 5 seed. That's a huge loss for Iowa in this team score race. Evans scores a lot of bonus points. He'll have that opportunity on the backside, but he will not have the opportunity to score those championship side advancement points. You get to the semis, you get your placement points. Down low, Brandon Hatchett knocked off Dallas Bailey, who had previously majored Peter Yates, the 6th seed for Virginia Tech, and Bailey has had an injury-riddled season, had a great match, and then Hatchett knocks him down. And, of course, the match I think everybody thought should have been a semi due to the seeding, but you lose one match your conference tournament, you drop to a 7. Josh Asper, Shane Onefer, they've met in this tournament last year. They met in the All-Star Classic 2 straight years. It's going to turn out into an exciting weight. I mean, it's Taylor's to lose, kind of like what we were all saying last year. But as we saw last year, anything can happen. And David Taylor has looked impressive. Don't think he is going to have any trouble tomorrow. And then, of course, sessions 5 and 6 are the big dog. 74, what do you got?
Got Ed Ruth, again,
green
kind of
hair.
a common theme.
Green hair.
The one thing,
It's
Jason,
green.
well, he had at the Big Tens, he had gold and black.
I think he was repping. He was like playing host to the Purdue. He's like, hey, you're a good host. And then I asked him yesterday. I was like, why is it green? He goes, well, I couldn't show up wearing black and gold at the Nationals. So
you look at Ed Ruth, and we've been talking about this before. We talked about McDonald. We talked about Oliver. You've mentioned a couple guys. David Taylor was one. Ed Ruth, 3 minutes. That's it. I mean, these guys are coming out, making short work of things. Matchup I'm interested in seeing here is the 5 and the 4. Lofthouse and Storley. They've battled.
Yeah, it's
3-4 times this year.
Rubber match. I believe this is the. I don't know. Let's see. They met in the national duel.
Guys can look it up. They've
they
gone
met in the
at it a
national
few
duels.
times.
Met in
It'll
the
be
dual
tight.
meet. They split that one, and then of course the Big Tens. Mucha Stegi and DeRoche all Pac-12 match up there in the 3-6. Jordan Blanton and Chris Perry. Then we've also got Nick Heflin. The only upset here in seeding wise, you want to get the top 8 through 9. Nick Heflin over Lee Munster of Northwestern was the only real seeding anomaly here, even though top seeds held for the most part. Move to 84. If I could change my bracket sheet, right? Joe LeBlanc. He's good.
Yeah, and they had Onifer at 74. Onifer had to pull one out. He was on our mat at number 4. He had to pull one out.
That's right. He was wrestling. Was it 60? No, it was 65. Yeah, Dan Yates. Oh, the lights. Shane. No. Anyway,
but LeBlanc, if I remember right, too, he fell behind, gave up the first takedown, then he just, put the route on. And I'll tell you the guy that I like here at 184 tomorrow for me, Bennett, Central Michigan, Wright, Penn State, of course, the returning national champion.
Doggy,
Bennett, to me, is just a hammer, and I like Bennett. Got
to give a little credit, too, to Austin Trotman from Appalachian State, looking to become their first All-American since Mark Fee was and the lights go down. Looking to be their first All-American since Mark Fee was a two-time All-American for the Mountaineers out of the Southern Conference. Kevin Steinhaus down 6-4 with about 15 seconds to go, gets the takedown to tie it up, has the riding time, beats John Fawzy. Fawzy that's got to be just that's got to destroy you
this
to know
year,
that you were that close to moving into the quarters.
Around the Big Ten, watching a lot of Big Ten wrestling, to me, Kevin Steinhaus is the master of winning the close matches. He's beaten Eden a couple of times to win the Big Ten title. He was able to do that again. Steinhaus, Minnesota's just balanced. I mean, they are just solid up and down the lineup.
Get some more lighting there for you.
Steinhaus is tough.
You look good here. You look good now.
We'll take it.
Yeah, you'll brighten it up. And Josh Enan and Robert Hamlin is your other quarter. Moving to 197, Chris Honeycutt.
Beast.
Yeah, he's your 2. The only upset seeds-wise there, we've got number 9, Alfonso Hernandez of Wyoming. A lot of people don't know, coming back from back surgery. So he was out pretty much all of last year and most of the year before that. Unseeded James Nakashima has totally benefited from the draw that unfolded before him. He's into the quarters. He's going to take on Cale Byers of Oklahoma State. Nakashima had an overtime win over Kelby Smith of the Citadel, then had a tiebreaker win over Joe Buddy of Old Dominion, and then had a 7-5 win over Cody Reed from Binghamton to be one match away from being an All-American.
That's what this tournament's all about, though. I mean, an opportunity, take advantage of it.
It's there, dude.
Absolutely. Phenomenal.
It's a great run. If he ends up on the podium, if he wins, if he pulls the upset against Byers, or he wins in the round of 12, are you going to fault him for the other guys losing in front of him?
Never apologize for winning.
Because Christian Boley was the 4 seed. He was knocked off in the first round by Cody Reed of Binghamton, who was a wild card selection, was 4th in the Colonial. And that was Boley's only his 2nd loss all year. Wow, this looks really cool right now. Shane, look at this. You can't. No, don't touch me. Anyway, now it's going to hurt haters. I got to look here. Let's see. Sonny Yon also. Big win over Mario Gonzalez to keep Minnesota in the hunt.
These quarterfinals are awesome. I mean, you look at Wilps. He's the only guy that beat Honeycutt. And Haynes. I haven't gotten to see him a whole lot, but I like him.
You know what
he had to get off to a great start.
You know what you're going to do against Haynes? You're not going to eye choose down.
You guys got to...
Hey, Gary.
This is a light.
Nah, we're good.
Sure?
Yeah, we've only got one more weight class. Gary Abbott, Johnny on the spot.
No, I got a light.
It's on the other side. Let's see what happens here. Let's see. Gary bought this thing. We're going to use it in the first time. Thankfully, this isn't live. Oh, yeah, there we go. We got some. Oh, look. Yeah, that's a cool little USB light. All right, let's get that out of the screen now. It's messing up my hair. All right, heavyweights. Let's talk about who's not in. We just saw Levi Cooper and Spencer Myers, 2 All-Americans, beat in the 2-Q round. It's like, all right.
Myers was my favorite runner, one of them from a year ago. He lost in the first round. He was a true freshman. Won a state title at 215 as a senior in high school. Comes up as a true freshman at 285. Loses to Ocala of Indiana. Comes down the backside.
Comes back through.
And wins 5 or 6 matches. Gets on the podium.
Yeah, and loses to Ocala again. It was
yep. And today goes 0-2. So
that's
I'm sure
the nature
he'll
of
be
the
motivated.
sport. At heavyweight, the top seeds all advance, with the exception of the 8 and 9.
And Zach Ray had a
8 and 9
scare.
were upset. Zach Ray did have a scare. Mike McMullen knocked off the 7 seed Jeremy Johnson with just a really weird. Was that on your match, Shane?
It was not.
It was basically got into a head to toe scramble, and McMullen basically planted his knee underneath the chin of Johnson and just stuck him there and says, "All right, you're pinned." And waited for the ref, and Drew Perry goes, "Come on, dude, he's pinned." Yep.
Heavyweight's a great weight class.
Odie Delaney, Andrew Delaney, he goes by Odie, the Citadel into the quarterfinals. They've only had 1 All-American in school history. They've also got Turtulkov Lovsendorch coming back through the backside at 174. But Odie Delaney, I mean, he beat Steve Andrus. He had a good win, 8-3. I mean, it was a sound win over Spencer Myers. And then McMullen, Nelson, Wade, Jack, Clayton Jacks looked good. He's got had an opening round decision over Ben Applin. Now here comes the lights again. You're messing up. My pupils are dilated here.
Clayton Jack, I saw him at the national duels, and
he's gigantic.
He is tough. Him and Nelson are just massive. All these guys. Heavyweight's exciting.
I'm
This
waiting.
weight class is fun
Their
to watch.
names are like Laser and like Fire from like American Gladiators, the
Yeah.
old version, not the Hulk Hogan version. Dun 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 dun. All right. Anyway, so
Be a
that's
lot
our
of fun tomorrow.
That's our little wrap up for Shane Sparks, Jason Bryant. Thanks for chiming in and basically listening to something you probably already knew, but you didn't see it from a guy that looked, well, like Shane. Thanks, guys. Watching the Matt.TV from St. Louis.